The small town of Littleton, West Virginia is where the Wetzel County Jane Doe would be found. And this case has kept this town completely confused for years. So on February 11th of 1983, there was a massive snowstorm. Now this storm literally stopped life itself for Littleton, West Virginia. Now what I mean by that is like nobody could go anywhere. Everything was blocked off. There was so much snow that came in. That following Sunday, the 13th, so Friday, it was February 11th, which was a Friday, of when all of this snow came in. So on that following Sunday, the 13th, many of the residents of Littleton were just trying to clean up. They were trying to, make do with the snow so they could go out about their daily lives. Well, at around 3:30 that afternoon, driving on the Interstate 250, an older couple saw the naked body of a woman, and she was laying face down in a snowbank. But she didn't have any snow on her, so it was very confusing. And this also indicated that she didn't die during the snowfall. Now, this couple immediately called the police, and hundreds of police officers came to the scene. Hundreds of people came. Quickly, they were able to determine that she was not thrown from a car because she was just carefully draped over this snowbank of where she was found. They were able to determine that she was between the ages of 30 to 40, that she was about 5'5" in height, and she weighed approximately 130 pounds. Upon investigating, the police were able to determine that there was a man that was seen near the crime scene. Now this man they believe he was in his late or mid to late 40s. He was Caucasian, about 5'10", and he had a stocky build. Now, the stocky build, they guesstimate he was about 180 to 210 pounds. He was also wearing a short brown jacket, but that's not all he was seen with. He was also seen with a two-toned brown pickup-style truck that was either a Ford or a Chevrolet. No suspect in this case has ever been publicly named, or a sketch of the suspect ever been released. So this man that they saw, no sketch of him has ever been released to the public. Now, in Morgantown, West Virginia, on February 17th, the medical examiner concluded she had died approximately 36 to 48 hours prior to her being discovered. Now, this also indicated that they could rule out natural causes. There was no drugs in her system and no signs of any injury or a struggle. So it's kind of very unusual. The most likely cause of death they could determine is that she died due to suffocation. But yet there was no signs of anything else. So the state police of West Virginia focused on who exactly was the Wetzel County Jane Doe. They had no idea. Now, the medical examiner was able to determine that she was actually between 35 to 45, that she was 5'6" in height, and she also weighed about 135 pounds. She had auburn hair, and her toenails were painted orange. She also had a C-section scar. So this indicated that she had given birth at least once in her lifetime. She also had a full-fitted upper palate of dentures that had been fitted up to 8 weeks prior to her death. So this is relatively new. Police also believed that the only way they would be able to identify her was from her dentures, but nothing came of it. Generally, when you have dentures or any orthodontia work, there is a serial number. It's the same thing with plastic surgery. If you have implants, there's a serial number on them. So they can then trace it back to you. But in this time period, a lot of records and files are not kept up well, and nothing came of possibly identifying her with her dentures. Now, eventually they released sketches of her to help identify her, but nothing came of this either. They even went as far as releasing a post-mortem photograph, but nothing came of this either. They hoped that if they released a photo of her, maybe somebody would come forward. Now, time for some theories and speculations, my friend. So in 1985, they believed that she could be a victim of the RedHead Murders. If you don't know what the RedHead Murders is, I will leave a link to my little intro of this little series I have, because I'm going to talk about the victims or possible victims of the RedHead Murders. Now, these murders are believed to have happened between 1978 to 1992, but there's nothing to confirm that her case is connected to the RedHead Murders, other than the fact that she has red hair and she was found off the side of Interstate 250. Another theory is that there's a connection to that of Hare Krishna's religious sect, because many of the women who were involved with this religious sect refused to cooperate, and there was a lot of sexual abuse and physical abuse with women if they didn't cooperate, and many of them were taken care of, if you know what I mean. Another theory is that simply she just died due to an occupational hazard. In 1993, the authorities in the area received a tip that this woman was in fact a prostitute and that she simply died due to doing her job, which also fits along with the MO of the RedHead Murders as well. Now, as of 2017, a sample of her DNA is on file at the University of Texas with the hopes of figuring out who she is. But nothing has come of light of whether or not they have been able to figure out who she is with genetic genealogy as of yet. I am hopeful that something will come out. You never know. Now, her body remained in the ME's office in Morgantown for 10 years. 10 years. And this is due to her remaining there, they decided to give her a name. So her name ended up being Judy instead of Jane Doe. So in 1993, they decided it was time to bury Judy. There was also a couple in Paden, West Virginia, that decided to adopt her and bury her properly in 1994, which I find so sweet that they did this. So she had a proper burial, a proper gravestone. She was laid to rest in a good way instead of how she was found. Unfortunately, no suspect has ever been named in this case, and simply just the question remains, who is she? Who is the Wetzel County Jane Doe? I feel as if one day we might figure out who she is, or we will figure out who she is via genetic genealogy, because that is the latest trend of figuring out who a lot of the John Doe and Jane Does are, is through genetics. If you have any information at all, please call 304-455-0913, and this is to Corporal William Henderson, and this is if you have any information regarding the Wetzel County Jane Doe. I'll also have that in the information down below as well. But that, my friends, is the tragic case of the Wetzel County Jane Doe and another part of the RedHead Murders. So I hope you keep coming back and learning more about these victims of the RedHead Murders.